Hi Stampers, this is Kim with Kim's Basement Bunch Stampers, and today I am going to showcase for you this cute little gift that's perfect for teachers and coworkers and just a little bit about almost anyone. It's a cute little desktop calendar, and it's got all of the different months in there. And this calendar is, again, great for your gift giving needs. These have been a huge hit for me at different craft shows and vendor fairs that I have been to. People just are taking these right off my shelf and giving them out as gifts. So I want to explain to you a little bit how I made these and tell you a little bit where I got the calendars and such. So let's go ahead and get started. So I started with a base piece of cardstock. This is Rich Raspberry, Stampin' Up's Rich Raspberry. It's cut at 7 by 3.5. And then I'm going to go ahead and score this. You need to add some score lines into this. As you can see, I bring my sample back in. You need to have that little tent built in there. So I'm going to go ahead and score this for you at 1 3/4. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Let me bring this down a little bit. I can tell you guys can't see that very good. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and score this at 1 3/4. And then again at 3.5. I'm going to go ahead and score that. So again, your piece of paper here that I started with is 7 by 3.5. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold this in half, just like that. Get a good crease there. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold this one down as well. Again, I want a really good crease there. So you can see that kind of gives you the little tent, and then your little calendar is going to sit here. So let's go ahead and add that calendar into this. I'll tell you where I got these calendars. I found them online at Tailored Expression. They are not a Stampin' Up product, but they are perfect to make these calendars with. So what I did is I went ahead and I put this on with dimensionals. And the reason why I chose to use dimensionals for this is I wanted this little calendar to kind of pop off the paper a little bit. And let me get these backings off of here and I'll explain to you exactly why I went with this as an adhesive and not any other adhesive. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to stick this down right at the end of that. But the reason why is I wanted this to kind of stick up in there and hold. With a good crease here, you'll get a really good hold. But I want that to kind of hold that in place, and it will once I get the rest of it on there. But I needed that little bit of a lip there that those dimensionals give. Can you see that? To kind of hold that cardstock in place. So that is kind of how you make the base of that. And then what I use to add the decoration to it, again, I'm going to bring my sample back in here, is I used our Rich Raspberry cardstock for the base. I used our Delightful Dijon for a mat. And the paper that I used is from our new Paisley set. I think it's Posies and Paisley or Paisleys and Posey. Really cute paper. And I wanted this to not be too... I didn't want to decorate this to be specific for any kind of a holiday. Since it's going to be a calendar that's going to be up all year round, I kind of wanted to have it be something generic enough so that it could be up on the calendar, on the desks all year round and not be too Christmas specific. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this little thing in here so you can kind of see the sample. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut these or glue these down. So the Delightful Dijon piece is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 square. And then my mat of Designer Series paper is 3 by 3. So that's awesome because when you're cutting a 12 by 12 piece of paper, you're going to get an even number out of them. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to adhere those together. My choice of adhesive that I prefer is Fast Fuse. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those down on top of each other, like so. Now the critical thing on this is when you're gluing this down, you only want to glue this part onto that base. You don't want to glue the whole thing down because you want this to come up and be where that kind of clips in there. So to make sure I get it the right way, I'm just going to add some adhesive to this little part right here. And then I know that I'm not going to glue the wrong side down if I put adhesive on the actual square itself. So then I am going to go ahead and put this on here like so. Let me get this lined up here. The good thing with our Fast Fuse, I got a little bit too much down there. You just wipe that right off. It comes right off of that cardstock, which is what I really love about the Fast Fuse. So again, there we go. Got that going. Then I just did some layering with our punches. So I'm going to go ahead and get our punches in here. I started with the 1 3/4 inch punch, and I just simply punched out a Delightful Dijon piece of that. So let me go ahead and punch that. Again, I used the 1 3/4 inch circle punch, and then I used our 1 1/2 inch punch to get the layer there of this is with the rich raspberry and the 1 1/2 inch punch. And I'm just going to go ahead and adhere these two together. Simple little layering effect going on here. So go ahead and glue those two together like so. Okay. And then I used our Paisleys and Posies stamp set. And what I did is I used the image. Let me make sure I show you the right one here. The image that I used is this one right here, I do believe. And that is what I'm going to use to, actually, I'm sorry, it's this one that I used. And I'm going to stamp that in the middle just to kind of add a little decoration to that medallion that I'm making. This is actually sold as a bundle in our holiday catalog. In it, there are some framelits that coordinate with all the different Paisley patterns. It's one of my favorites. I'm a Paisley person, so I had to showcase this. I'm going to go ahead and bring in some scrap piece of white here, if I can find one. Let me see what I've got here. This will work, I think. Sorry about that. It took me a little bit to find my white paper, but here it is. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my white cardstock in here and my rich raspberry ink. And I'm just going to simply stamp this image onto the scrap of white. Let me get my ink out of here. And then I used our 1 3/8 inch circle punch. And again, I'm just going to kind of center that and punch that out. And again, going back to our whole layering, I am going to go ahead and add this white piece onto, I had to get that a little bit straight again. I had it a little too crooked there for me. So I'm going to go ahead and add this white piece onto this little layer medallion as well, just to kind of give it a little bit of that purple edge, which is kind of why I did the outer side. And then I'm going to adhere that with dimensionals. Dimensionals I love to use on these calendars because you kind of want that little pop to kind of pop up. So I'm going to put a couple dimensionals on there. Let me go ahead and get them off there. And this is going to go on the bottom of the calendar. So let me bring this back in so you can all see that. I'm just going to put that on the bottom down here. And then I'm not sure if any of you ever used our bow punch, our bow maker punch, but this punch is one of my favorites. As a mom of 2 girls, I use this all the time when I'm making things for my girls. So what you're going to have to do to make the bow is you're going to take a piece of scrap. This is also from the paper, the Designer Series paper that goes with the Paisley bundle. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to punch this out twice. It takes 2 of these to make a bow. So I'm going to go ahead and punch them out. And then I'm going to show you how quick and simple it is to assemble this bow. So what I'm going to do is I want that Paisley pattern to show. So I'm going to take my glue dots and I'm going to adhere these together. So that makes the first part of the bow. Cute, simple. Taking the other one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put that on there and I'm going to assemble that together. And then I take a glue dot on them and I assemble these 2 pieces together like so. Voila! So all I'm going to have to do now is add my tails to that. And on my sample, I chose to add my tails with the other color of the Designer Series paper just to kind of give it a different color. But you could use the same one if you wanted to. So I'm going to do the same thing on my sample for you today. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to adhere a glue dot onto the tail. And this is what I have found to be, whoops, get that back down there, what I have found to be the easiest way to adhere the bow is I actually adhere the tails. Boy, I'm just making lots of little mistakes today, aren't I? But I actually kind of, if you can see what I'm doing here, I kind of line this up and I just put it on there and I push it down, and that kind of helps me see that I'm getting the tails in the right spot. And it's a lot easier for me with my nails sometimes to do it that way. So there's the bow. And normally what you could do is you could wrap this little punch, or part that punched out with it, around here to give it a cute little center of the bow, but I am not going to be doing that today because I am actually going to be using one of our metal rimmed pearls to put in the middle, so you really wouldn't see that part that I'm omitting anyway by putting that pearl in there. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this. I also used dimensionals on this bow, again, just because I wanted the 3D effect to it. And so I put one on each of the tails, and I actually used my paper snips, and I actually cut a little bit of the scrap on the end. I don't know about you, but I use every single part of my dimensionals. They work, it doesn't matter what shape they are, but I put a little piece of that in the middle because the full dimensional is going to be too much. You'd have to cut a dimensional in half anyway, so why not just use those scraps up? So I'm going to go ahead and pull those backings off there and adhere this to the top of my calendar, like so. Hope that's centered. It's kind of hard to do that, but I think it's centered pretty good. And then I'm going to bring in my metal rimmed pearls, and these are in our holiday catalog, in the annual catalog, and they're one of my favorite embellishments because you get 3 different sizes of pearls in here, and I actually used our largest pearl into the center. They do have already self-sticky on them, so you just remove that yellow backing, but I like to make sure they stick. Again, someone's going to have this little calendar on their desk at work for the whole year, so I like to just make sure that that stays adhered really good. So I do add a couple additional glue dots onto my pearls just because I want it to really stick. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that into the middle of that bow. And then I used you can use either one of the next 2 sizes. You could use the real little size, or you could use this medium sized. I'm going to use, I think, the medium size next, if I can get one out of there. And I am going to, okay, I guess not, I'm going to use a little one. But I also put a pearl right in the middle of the medallion, just to kind of fill in that little white space in the center. Again, I took the yellow backing off. Again, I'm putting a glue dot on there to adhere it in there really good. And I'm going to go ahead and put that into the middle of this little calendar. So now that I have it all put together, you will see exactly what I was talking about when I mentioned to you that we needed that lift on there. This is going to come up, and by putting the dimensionals on that calendar, it holds that up really, 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 really good. So now you can kind of see what it looks like, all done up pretty. How awesome is that? I have this on my desk right now at work, and I absolutely love it. I have obviously for 2016, but I love it because it's a quick glance at the whole month all at once without having to scroll through my calendar on my computer or my phone. And it's a cute little gift that I think people will treasure and love. So check out my website at www.kimsbasementbunch.com for my blog post on this cute project and all the supplies that I use to make it. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope to see you again soon. Have a great day.